Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Joe True and Love, here with another sports overview topics episode. This time, episode 108 on the channel. Thank you for joining me. Got some stuff to, of course, go over today. But first and foremost, uh, want to give a special shout out to my new subscriber. I love you, my girlfriend Mariah. Thank you for shout out to her for subscribing to my channel the other day. So thank you, baby. Thank you. But now, some interesting stuff to go over the podcast today. But we had the home run derby last night. We had some free fights, UFC fights going over the main event from Saturday. Talked about Donovan Mitchell and him potentially being on his way out of Utah. Some signings from the USFL, getting NFL contracts, and some more. But nonetheless, thank you for joining me. If you're new to the podcast and you want to see more of these videos, click that subscription down there in the corner. Find all my videos on the channel, sports review topics, pro wrestling reviews, etc. But you can find those on the channel, and if you comment, I'll be more obliged to reply and be wary of suggestions and whatever to help make my videos more enjoyable and help continue the podcast to grow. But nonetheless, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Home Run Derby. The Home Run Derby was last night for 2022. The MLB. Now, the All-Star game is tonight, but obviously one of the big spectacles of the MLB All-Star break is the Home Run Derby. The chance, obviously, to see who gets most home runs and tournament bracket style to see who comes away with the trophy and $1 million. But so we had some interesting names in there. Some interesting names. Now, obviously, when one is selected into the All-Star game, not everyone who is immediately selected probably opts for the Home Run Derby. It's just how it is, swinging, going for the home runs. I mean, you understand it to a point. But, however, we did have some interesting names participating in this year's Home Run Derby. Starting with Pete Alonso, the coming in the reigning two-time Home Run Derby champion, back-to-back, came in to this year, had a solid showing, but wasn't to be for a third straight year. Albert Pujols, the longtime St. Louis Cardinal who is set to retire after this season, He had a feel-good moment in the home run derby last night. Juan Soto, another interesting cat who literally the other day declined a huge contract extension from the Washington Nationals, and his status is been kind of unknown. We got Kyle Schwarber, who's had a good season with the Phillies. He had obviously the probably the most enjoyable moment of the season when he called out Angel Hernandez to his face. Julio Rodriguez, the exciting rookie for the Mariners, who have been hot, very hot recently. Yeah, we had some interesting names. Ultimately, though, it went to Juan Soto. Now, talk about a weird but interesting way. So got through Jose Ramirez. In the quarterfinals, beat Albert Pujols in the semis, and then beat Julio Rodriguez, who had a very uplifting first two rounds, but last round it just wasn't there, and then well, wasn't as big as first two rounds were hitting in the 30s both two rounds, but you know, gotta give it to Soto. He was down late, and then the streak got going, and yeah, no shame for P. Alonso losing to Rodriguez, who beat both Corey Seager and Alonso, so he held his own, but yeah, it was relatively exciting for what it was. Home run derby for the MLB. Obviously, the question will be now, Juan Soto, what is his status now after winning the home run derby and declining that contract extension? But we'll see. Nonetheless, was joy to watch. Now, since the USFL championship has concluded, the question obviously was there for everyone. That how many of these guys were going to get NFL contracts or extended and get potentially first or second or many more chances in the NFL. Well, we got some more guys signed to the NFL deals, so good. The first member of the USFL champion Birmingham Stallions, Doug Carlson, defense lineman, signed with Steelers. Now, the Steelers have the most expensive defense heading into the season, so that's just Jack Paul's arm more for the Steelers and Doug Carlson. So hopefully he pans out well. Next, Cameron Hayward, around TJ Watt, Devin Bush, etc. But good for Carlson. Once the Patriots, they sign from the Maulers Jeremiah Farms, another defensive lineman. He actually looks kind of like Linval Joseph. Big defensive lineman. You know, we know Bill Belichick loves big guys on the line. So, have to check his stats, but nonetheless, we had down Butler, we had down Branch, we'll see how they go. Excuse me. Brian Ortega. So, UFC Fight Night was, or depending where you are, it wasn't really a fight night, but free fights on Saturday with the main event, an exciting main event, an intriguing one. We had Brian T. City Ortega against Yair Rodriguez, two of the top contenders in UFC featherweight division, 145-pound division. It was a pretty good fight, pretty decent fight up until the end. A disappointing ending to a good fight in which Ortega dislocates his shoulder. Just one of those weird incidents. But yeah, it was a good fight. Both were landing some good strikes on the feet. Ortega tried to use pressure a bit, getting Ortega up or Rodriguez up against the cage. But Yair fired back with strikes. They eventually got to ground. And Yair went for a armbar, but all of a sudden Ortega fought out in just a weird instant. Ortega fell back, and his shoulder, you can tell he was in discomfort. His shoulder just yanked out, and disappointing, but nonetheless, it was a good fight between the two. Rodriguez, he's in a bit of a strange place simply because of, there's been gaps in between when he fights. But anywho, we just saw Volkanovski take apart Max Holloway in his last fight, thinking about moving up. But with the news of the vacant title fight at 155 between Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev, maybe that fight would be suitable, although Josh Emmett won a close decision versus Calvin Cater. So we'll see how it ranks. But Volkanovski certainly has a good amount of opponents lined up in the future still for 145. And I might as well give my first thoughts on it since I just mentioned it. Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev has been made for UFC 280 in October, I believe. October. You know, Makhachev would certainly he hasn't fought many big name opponents, but he is certainly fierce. He is certainly a scared grappler, and against Oliveira, it can be interesting because we know how Oliveira is great on the ground, but he showed against Dustin and against Gaethje. He has good stand up as well, and so good boxing. So I would just say watch out for the Bronx and Mr. Makhachev. But yeah, it could be an interesting fight. Donovan Mitchell could potentially be on the move. You know, we mentioned how Rudy Gobert, his trade to the Timberwolves certainly shook up news for Utah Jazz fans. And now it's all just discussions at this point, but the New York Knicks are in pursuit of Donovan Mitchell and perhaps them getting a three-team trade for Mitchell. I mean, that would certainly be something because for the Knicks, having RJ Barrett, they acquired Brunson. If they can somehow manage to get Donovan Mitchell without giving up too much, then they'd be fierce and back to because we just saw him make the playoffs not too long ago. And, I'd feel more confident right now in the Knicks more than I feel in the Nets at this point as far as New York basketball teams. I think that's for sure. So, a decision on Deshaun Watson's suspension with the Browns could be near. There's rumors and stuff on social media that perhaps a verdict is nearing for the Browns and Deshaun Watson. Now, currently on the depth chart with the trade for Baker Mayfield, it's currently Jacoby Brissett and Josh Dobbs. Now, from what I've been reading and what I've been gathering around on social media, the suspension may not be halfway, may not be, well, I mean, there's 17 games, so it'd be hard to half of that. But if Deshaun Watson's suspension is less than 9 games, and I'm just speculating, but if it is indeed less than 9 games, and we know how good that roster looks, I like Jacoby Brissett, but honestly, if it's only for a few games, if I was Andrew Berry, I'd give a call to Ryan Fitzpatrick's agent, Philip Rivers, see how he does in his time off from coaching high school football. Give a call. It's only a few games. I know Fitz, it's not exactly great health status, but if it's only for a few games, then certainly there. And we know with Philip Rivers, the door is not completely closed for a return. So that is something to watch out for, I would say. But now, if, I'm just saying if they keep their current depth chart, I think Jacoby Brissett would have to win like 3 or 4 games. They would have to be like 3-5 or like 4-4, gearing towards, so they can make like one of those big stretches at the end. I mean, it's certainly possible, but certainly an idea to look out for the Browns and for the NFL. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But nonetheless, that's all I have for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this little episode here. Of course, if you did, click the like, leave a thumbs up in the corner, leave a comment, suggestions. Again, I'm more open to suggestions and ways to make the videos, make the podcast better. But thank you all. Be safe. See you guys next week. I'm Rachel. To one love. Be safe. Enjoy the All-Star game. Peace.